Welcome to This Just In, the show bringing you the latest advancements in healthcare, strategy, innovation, and public policy. And now, for the fastest voice in healthcare, here's your host, Justin Barnes.
Thank you for tuning in. Welcome to This Just In. I'm your host, Justin Barnes. In these segments, I'll bring the latest advancements in healthcare, strategy, innovation, and public policy. As always, we're broadcasting from the This Just In studios on the Business Radio X network, as well as the Healthcare Now radio network. However, before we dive into our conversation today, I'm very excited to, first of all, announce in the heels of our 2024 Podcast of the Year Award, we just expanded our broadcast into the Global Health Podcast Network. In the phenomenal community there, could not be more excited as we continue to grow and expand our reach globally and certainly participation globally. I'm also excited to announce that This Just In radio show will be broadcasting live from Vive 25 in Nashville, February 16th and 19th, as well as broadcasting live from HIMSS 25 in Las Vegas, March 3rd through the 6th. And we'll get to all these conferences here shortly with our great guest today. It's always great to collaborate with thousands of people that we do every single year at those conferences. And again, we'll dive into some of those here shortly. I'm certainly ready for 2025, but in that direction, I'm also ready for this episode, my 319th episode. We have a special guest focused on healthcare predictions for 2025. And my guest today is healthcare thought leader, technologist, innovator, great guy all around, and longtime friend of the show, Mr. Mike Mosquito. Welcome back to the show, my good friend.
Thank you, Justin. Congratulations on the award and the expansion of the podcast. You've been killing it.
You got it, brother. Always great to have you. Very excited for the show today. And again, I'll apologize. We're doing video here. The sun's just decided to set here in Sarasota, so it's going to get quite bright. But it's a real background too. It's beautiful. Hopefully that sun isn't too much though. But anyhow, how are you doing, my friend?
We're doing wonderful. Glad to be off the road for a little bit. I've had a busy year. Following your footsteps, getting ready to launch a podcast myself. So it's going to be coming out here for Christmas for everyone. But it's been a good, busy year, of innovation, looking at what's coming out, what's around the corner for 2025. So glad to do this show and be a part of this predictions for next year, because I think we're going to be excited about what's coming our way.
Yeah, and it's been a great show. You've been a part of a lot of the shows at the different conferences. This has been a really cool year. I mean, just coming together as an industry, health systems, innovators, even patients, the collaboration has been unparalleled. And so that's we'll talk about that a little bit today. And that's just really cool to see. I mean, you brought it up in the show before. Some of our friends, CIO friends that we have in common have brought that up. So I certainly want to, dive in. It's been an exciting 2024. Could not be more excited about 2025. So let's go ahead and dive in. Number one area, you and I both serve and work deeply in this, is the hospital space. So what are some of your thoughts there in the hospital space?
I think as we move out of 2024, we saw some of this leading us, the acceleration of the integration of AI in different areas, and using clinical decision support tools to reduce that clinician burnout, improve that patient engagement experience and those outcomes. I think we'll see that to continue to thrive throughout 2025. I think that, they ask the question of what's the ROI? And I think it's not always financial. I think it is also the benefit of workflow, the benefit of those outcomes to the patient that you also have to consider as an ROI for bringing these tools on. An emerging trend happened around that, and that's what we'll follow. Predictions, emerging trends, that digital front door, and how to streamline that access for the patients and that patient care. And then leveraging those chat bots, those virtual assistants. I have an AI company that's a bot on health that's already hitting this head on in the multi-languages. So 190 languages we have to hit at that front door. I think you'll see more hospitals address that, because that's the population disparity in the community they have to address. And I think in focusing on that, you're going to see the scaling of hospital in the home, because you can communicate with them. You've got a digital front door where you can engage with them. These programs will begin to expand. So I think I'm excited about how we see hospital and home really coming about. What does it look like on a small scale in 25? I don't think you see anything big, but I think you'll see people really start to stick their toe over in that water. Another big one, Justin, I think, are command centers. I think that's now a hot button for a lot of areas. I just finished, and we'll talk about a conference I was at where we addressed command center and some CIOs that have hit home runs over there and what they're doing about that. So I think that these are some of my focus areas.
Yeah, I can't wait to get to that. Yeah, and I put out a piece here just recently, kind of, living the promise now. We've been talking about AI for years and years and years now, certainly in healthcare, and we've seen this. I mean, even, again, a lot of the CIOs that have had on the show in the last 3, 4 months have talked about, difference, where AI has made a big difference in predictive analytics and diagnostic accuracy, even personalized patient engagement, which you mentioned, sort of those virtual care platforms. And then you also move that into, the hospital at home. And I know Rasu talked about that, and so did actually John Halamka as well. Talked about the hospital at home and those types of markets where AI is making a difference today. It's not just again on the future, like you said. It's these are incremental changes, not overnight big successes, but they've started small in a lot of these communities. And for the CIOs listening, and certainly the CEOs and CFOs listening to this show today, I hope that's part of their strategy. I hope they're taking the hospital at home. Is it right for their strategy? Is it right for their community? Is it right for their health system, their providers, their patients? I mean, I haven't seen it. I really, it really is in a lot of ways. No matter where you are, I've seen just great success. Even when they start incrementally and small, they're all scaling. So,
Right.
I think that's something that we're going to continue to see, and very excited about that. Let's dive in a little bit on the patient side, because I mean, hospitals are our mainstay in our communities. But what does this really mean for the patients, in your opinion? Certainly, as we look to 2025.
I said this on stage earlier this year, Justin. I think the patients are now the consumers, and they'll demand greater transparency and personalization across healthcare delivery. They're shopping, and they can shop. They can afford to shop. For those that are going to be able to deliver better outcomes, they're going there. If you're falling down on, can I provide technology like wearables when I leave the facility to be able to track me, eliminate me from having to drive back to your facility for care?
Yeah.
How do I do that? What does a digital twin look like now that AI is on board? And then personalizing those health insights for me. What do you know about me? How can you personalize that care? So that consumer-driven healthcare model, that's a trend coming in 2025, emphasizing that convenience. And I think we'll see some companies that start personalizing that are going to pop up. They're
Yep.
going to show up and they're going to make that their marketing play. I think that's where they're going to be for 2025. I think some focus areas are going to be personalized wellness subscriptions. So you actually subscribe to a personalized wellness powered by predictive analytics. We know this about you. You
Yep.
want to come work with us, plug in. The outcomes will here's where we predict your roadmap of health will be. And then taking control of your own medical record will become paramount for 2025. How can I make sure that I protect myself? As I said earlier, I was also presenting, I talked about having at home 3 different notifications letters for breaches around my data
I
from
know.
different organizations. They're coming in like the junk mail now. I'm
Yeah.
getting them as fast as junk mail coming in. So how do we manage that for myself? And then greater adoption of that remote monitoring and adherence to tools for chronic care and wellness and disease management as we move through this 2025 will be seen. Virtual care, I think the one topic though, Justin,
Mhm.
virtual care and expanding virtual care inside the facilities, I think monitoring. So with nurse burnout, physician burnout, how does virtual care really come to play in the facility? There are 2 companies, 3 companies I'm very well aware of right now that are making great strides in that virtual care, using the nursing dashboard and the command center for the nursing to actually have a virtual care environment for monitoring patients without having the number of nurses required for a one-to-one type of
Yeah.
engagement in the hospital.
Love that. Absolutely. Yeah, and you hit the nail on the head with what's near and dear to my heart, and that's chronic care management. It's been a focus of mine for how long, many, many, many years now. And it's just I really do. This is where AI, predictive analytics, and these types of strategies are making demonstrable, evolutions today. And when you get into real-time patient monitoring and home, and these, the at-home models or home care models, and even workflow automation. So for the care providers to help with burnout specifically. But I actually, and you just brought it up, I actually challenge us as patients to go look at how can you become a better patient in 2025? What can you do? How can, given that digital twin that you brought up, and again, AI is going to help a lot here, and specifically calling out and helping you build that digital twin and really saying, hey, let's replicate this. And I mean, I've even had one guest on this year that talked about having basically an avatar that, and we'll talk. You actually have an avatar. You will be an avatar, and that's how you make it. You talk about care with your provider, or even manage your own care. And there's people working on that. So, and I love those kind of innovations. Certainly, when you're talking about chronic disease management, being able to take better care of yourself, having better when you get to the predictive analytics or AI and you get into personalized medicine, that's a game. Those are game changers. You're talking about saving a lot of money, sharpshooting your issue or your disease state, and then looking for medications or medication is one area, but also what can you do as a patient? I mean, taking your medicine and having personalized medicine and medications, that's fantastic. That is absolutely on the horizon. It's already here in some ways.
Right.
But also, what can we do? Again, we go back to challenging. This isn't always about taking a pill. It's not always about taking a drug. What can we do to be better patients? How can we not only take better care of ourselves, but also study up on how to be the best patient in today's environment? What tools are available to you? You brought up how can you foster an at-home care environment? Not wait to be prescribed or predict, the care providers or your nurses and doctors to prescribe it to you or show you the path. Maybe you can come up with some ideas or at least enable that in your home. So when they do bring it up to you, it's ready to go. So I think there's things that we can do to be better consumers and be ready for this, which bringing in my next part for you would be IT vendors. So we talk about, technology and enabling that. You and I come from this sector as well. I actually think we both started as on the IT vendor side, if I'm not mistaken. Was that
Yeah.
McKesson's or yeah, like
Because
20 years ago we met up there, 25. So what are your thoughts for IT vendors in 2025 and some of the predictions there?
I think they're going to have to pivot in 2025, more offering toward end-to-end ecosystems, whether standalone solutions or integrated with IT or AI, IoT, cloud native platforms. They're going to have to pivot in 25. I think I've seen that happen for the institutions I'm working with and where I am right now. Those got the vendors that are ahead of the curve on that. They're getting more traction. They're getting more market play and sales. But that emerging trend is subscription-based models for replacing the traditional licensing that ends up increasing cost over time. With that increase focused on value-based pricing for how do we measure those outcomes. I'll pay for the outcomes if it's demonstrable in how I'm going to get the outcomes for the patient and that return on investment for what I gave you up front. I don't want to pay for licensing that I'm not going to need. And that's that's been the model for I don't know how long. I came from that world. I'll sell you the licenses all day. I'm going to stay in your pockets forever. Some focus areas, leveraging edge computing and faster data processing. Everybody talks about compute. I live in that world with Bot on Health. We have to worry about Amazon all day, every day, but that compute power on the back end for clinical devices is going to continue to increase. That is another investment for our healthcare facilities and for our vendors as they start developing these solutions. They have to understand what that cost will be for the facility. And always cybersecurity first. Increasing that ransomware and data breach awareness and mitigating those concerns that the CIO, CTO, CISO may have, because it's always there. It's not if you're going to get breached, is when and will you know it in time.
Right.
And then development of AI explainability tools. So building that trust and regulatory compliance for these solutions that are coming out. How do you govern them? I was just with CEO of a couple of organizations that were these CEOs were worried about, hey, how do I bring these tools in? And there's a roadmap for some of this, but you have to understand governance is paramount to this. If you don't have governance, you're probably going to fall down around the hinges with pulling some of these tools into your shop.
I love that. No, you're spot on. I think you make me think of a couple of different things there. First of all, when it comes to IT vendors, interoperability, and what is your evolved role in interoperability? How can you better support that as an organization? I'm still hearing, how companies are trying to box out even one of the large integrators in the industry. I literally took a phone call 2 days ago on how they're not sharing data. I'm like, come on, guys, we have we have the Cures Act and we're still blocking information blocking. Are you kidding me? I mean, this is
Still happening.
2025 now. So I told them, you show me an example and I'll absolutely give that a spotlight in the industry. We need to stop that.
Right.
So how can we enable interoperability, not become barriers to interoperability? That's, unfortunately we need to get better. And I think we will in 2025, but as IT vendors. Also, you brought up, compute power. I think looking at, making sure there's some, processes out there. I've done a lot of research helping health systems try to lower their cost on making sure they have the right servers, the right processors. Done a lot of work with AMD now in that direction where, you can save, 50, 60, 70% on your data center costs and 90% even on your maintenance costs on some of these larger EHR platforms, looking at your processors, looking at your, the cloud type of offerings that can enable you in a better way. So, and you made me think about, even when you cybersecurity and CISOs, those Epic, I believe, in August told their customers you need to have IREs or independent recovery environments. You've got to do that, and so you got to start looking at those types of solutions out there that support that independent recovery. It's basically an easy step into disaster recovery. You
Right.
made me think of that. I mean, you brought up cybersecurity and for CISOs.
Absolutely. And you got to be
So
able, as you move to the cloud, I mean, my institution just moved to the cloud.
yeah,
So what comes with that? While you've just offloaded your data center demand on
yeah,
resources and cash, what did you pick up, right?
yep,
While you may have protected yourself a little better and put the cyber risk on them, what else did you pick up? How do I recover? On-site, off-site? How do I make sure that the staff understands what a recovery methods look like? How have I trained on those? So there's a lot that comes with this new landscape of offshoring, offsite, not offshoring, but
no,
offsite recovery, and being able to move out of that data center to the cloud. And NVIDIA stock is just going to continue to go up.
yep, love it. And for those that may have tuned a little late today, my special guest is Mike Mosquito. And as my audience knows, Mike is a long-standing industry technologist, good friend of the show, innovator for emerging solutions. Always great to have you on air. So let's dive into other area near and dear to my heart, startups. I know near and dear to your heart as well. So what are your thoughts for 2025?
Well, you and I were at Health this year, so
Yeah.
I spent all of my time on that floor looking, seeking, finding, and being interviewed and interviewing others. And I have some great meetings kicking off in 2025. The healthcare startup landscape is huge. Health
Yeah.
was just sold, so that
Yeah.
means that their show has done what it needed to do for someone to write a check. And I think the focus will shift into more niche and specialized solutions as we move into specific pain points for healthcare, prior authorization, social determinants of care and health, and healthcare equity will sit at the top of some of these areas for how do I address them? How do I make sure they're addressed in the communities that are underserved? Us here, right here in Georgia, Justin, you came from here, you know best. Once you get south of the city, you're lucky to have an ambulance show up if you're in a car accident. There's
Yeah.
not a hospital in certain areas, and doctors surely don't live where there are not enough patients to afford that large salary. So it's how do we address these areas? What tools can be put into place? What infrastructure needs to be put into place? An emerging trend, I think, is for startups are going to be how to be scalable, how to be plug and play with your capabilities for
Yep.
healthcare systems that will attract more funding. Because if you're not interoperable and if you're not plug and play, the heavy lift is not going to be there for the health system to put 10 bodies on with you to help you get your solution in. A
Excellent.
focus for 2025, clinical automation solutions that save cost and improve efficiency. I think building platforms that support collaborative care teams and then expanding access to mental health and wellness apps. This is one area I started playing with earlier this year, and I've been engaged with two companies, including the gaming industry. So
Yes.
I brought healthcare over into gaming and had a multi-state gaming commissioners on a call to talk about what healthcare looks like. And as you talked about that avatar, we've developed an avatar for gaming and mental health that's mandated by several states.
Love that.
So not only just for particular industries, but underserved communities and those areas where high suicide rates exist.
Hmm.
So I learned a lot about where suicide rates exist in gambling this year and
Yep.
how AI can be a tool to help mitigate some of that. And so
Absolutely. Great
I'm
point.
very excited about this area for startups and these tools, how companies are taking these tools and moving that care continuum closer to the tools, being even the cell phone. And
Yep.
how do I keep my patients or potential patients tethered to me so I can have continuous care for them? I think that's going to be cool for 2025.
Yeah, you make me smile because I mean, mental health has gotten, it's worked its way into society pretty heavily from a standpoint of, after COVID, we see some real mental health strains in our population. And there's a product that came across Attune Media Lab. They're on my radio show
Mhm.
at Health, and I love what they're doing. And I even sat down because I even went through, I mean, a Cat 5 hurricane coming right at me right before I went to Health. And it was just, this is mental stress that put on me. I mean, just having a Cat 5 coming right at you. Thankfully, it's just a Cat 3 that hit us. And we didn't lose our residence, but I literally packed up and left my condo in Sarasota, knowing that it's going to be destroyed, absolutely destroyed. That's put a mental tax on me for several weeks, and it's just, but seeing how some of those apps work. So it was, It was very, very cool. But also on the startup side, I want to talk about. I just came back from reInvent, which is AWS's annual. Basically, it's a conference based on innovation, what AWS is doing, and to see how they're how a couple things you maybe think of on the startup side, how they work with startups, how they can turn on and turn off their database access and use, and how they can be so innovative for young startup companies in healthcare. So I highly recommend you take a look at them, and even how they can really consolidate costs. Certainly, when you put on like the AMD stack, that's another stock I would look at in 2025 and 2026. Is AMD. These these companies are going to continue to do well. You're talking about, oh my God, I mean, $500 billion market in the next several years for processors. I mean, it's a big market coming down. Separate type of a show, but my gosh, there's a lot coming down there. So a lot to be, excited about, certainly. But you bring up mental health. I love talking about mental health now because I see what the benefit it can bring to our society, and we need more of it, not less of it out there. I do want to have some time in the last closing minutes to talk about. Why don't we hit investors for 1 minute, and then let's jump over to associations in our final minute. So, what are your thoughts for investors in
Yeah, I
2025?
think investors, they were all over health where we just were in
Yeah,
Vegas. And I think
absolutely.
investors will favor those companies with demonstrable ROI. They want
Yeah,
to see it, they want to prove it, and they want to see the outcomes. And then how can they sell it so they can invest more to get more out of it, to make it scalable and cross market appeal? How can I take it from, again, healthcare, move it over into gaming? I just moved from Georgia to Vegas all in one snapshot with our company. And that seemed to work. So I think that's a predictive analytics platforms, senior care innovation, and
excellent.
ESG compliance are some of the big ones that investor firms are going to be looking at in 2025.
Yeah, senior care. Obviously, me. I'm in Florida. Senior care is real significant to me. But obviously, with an aging population and an aging population that understands technology, they are not afraid of technology. In a lot of ways, they leverage technology quite well. Don't think don't basically surpass them. I mean, really think about how you can integrate senior care into a strategy if you can. Certainly, if you have an innovation in healthcare, because it is going to be a great investment area and with a lot of growth and opportunity for everybody.
And I think that bioinformatics and AI ML area,
Yeah.
they're going to hit as well. You're going to see, I think in your area, you're going to see big movement over there
Yeah.
for precision medicine.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Next section, close us out, associations and conferences and events in 2025. Obviously, I'll let you go ahead and lead that one off. But you and I love these. We collaborate. We see each other it gives us a chance to see each other every year, a bunch of times. But what are your thoughts there, brother?
We do. I think that the industry conferences are going to start to transform. I have been on a great road show this year with some great conferences that have come out with some great content, some great speakers, changing the focus. So I think you're going to see more hands-on workshops. I've been giving more workshops during my presentations. That has been one of the big areas, is that I've been able to focus on workshops, delivering a message that showcases, here's how you do it. Here's your framework. I think collaborative innovation showcases between hospitals, vendors, and startups will start to show up. Here's what we've done collectively. Like you said, how am I interoperable with this new technology, this
Yeah.
new infrastructure? And then AI governance and ethical frameworks that are going to pop up out of these conferences, and showing you a roadmap for interdisciplinary panels. So some of those best conferences are again, you and I are always at Vive. CES is kicking off the year. CES came out shooting. January
Yep.
7th through 10th, they're going to be on point, showcasing what's happening in industry for technology. And then I think you and I'll see each other at Vive in Nashville, like you said.
Yep.
Millennium Alliance is another good one. They've come about and done a great job with their alliance meetings. So I've got them coming up in Austin in March. So if you don't know Millennium Alliance, go check those guys out. Then you and I'll be together again at HIMSS in
March
Las
3rd.
Vegas.
You got it.
You
Yeah.
know it.
Yeah.
And Justin, have you done Health 2.0 in Las
I have
Vegas?
not. I have not.
Well, I have a lot of folks asking me about Health 2.0 and what's happening there. But I've got, our HHCP Gala for our healthcare professionals that's happening here in Georgia. That's going to be another good one. And then we've got Chime, which we're
Oh
always
yeah.
at Chime.
Yep.
And then another one that's talking about these roadmaps and where we're going is the future of care spaces. That's the first off conference happened this past October in Las Vegas, and it was a home run hitter. 14 healthcare providers and vendors coming together is what we talked about. The collaboration is
Yep.
starting to happen. They're giving the roadmap to folks. So I think that, we've got a lot going on around the country, along with health coming back again in Las Vegas in October. We've got Health Impact Live in New York, which was a home run hitter. I think Chelsea Clinton's going to keynote that one this year. So I think that we've got some great conferences that are happening around the country for this 2025.
Well, I look forward to you hit all all my big ones: Vive, hymns, chime, health. Those are all, I love them. And obviously Georgia hymns. We always get Georgia hymns in there in your conference.
Come in for May. Georgia hymns, golf, and gala. If you haven't attended one of our events, our lunch and learns are always sold out. So always glad to have you up here, Justin. But Georgia hymns, as always, I'm the chair of the communications and co-chair of programs. Our programs are always sold out. But in the spring and May, if you need to know it, Georgia Hymns is going to be held at Chateau Elan this year. We're moving the event. So that's May, let's see, I think it's May 15th and 16th at Chateau Elan. So come join us for a gala that night, and then join us for a party the next day on the golf course.
Always, brother. Mike, appreciate it as always, man. So great to have you on air. And also, I want you to enjoy the holidays too, brother. Appreciate you, man.
You as well. You as well. Thank you for having me on, Justin, as always, and happy holidays.
Got it. And a big thank you to all my listeners and supporters who voted us 2024 Podcast of the Year. Please tune in as my show broadcasts weekdays at 2:30 p.m. Eastern, 11:30 a.m. Pacific. As always, you can find me on LinkedIn at Justin T. Barnes, or track me on Twitter at HIT Advisor, and use the hashtag ThisJustinRadios to respond to your comments from the show. If you missed this episode or want to hear more, all my shows are posted on YouTube, Spotify, Apple iTunes, Amazon Music, Megaphone, SoundCloud, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, and TuneIn. I want to give a special shout out to my guy, Jake Reed, who's done a great job getting me on all those platforms and handling this on a weekly basis. And we're also publishing some great new thought leadership on justinbarnes.com. So thanks, everyone. Check that out and have a great rest of your day.